Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the launch of Koinos Mainnet. In a moment, one of the architects of Koinos will share a screen and then launch the world's first free-to-use, truly decentralized, and evolving blockchain. We built Koinos because we believe that the socioeconomic system is broken and that it needs to be more open, transparent, and decentralized. But we know that the system won't just change willingly. It must be pushed into the future. And in order to do that, to exert that level of pressure, what we need is a really big lever. As Archimedes said, give me a lever long enough and I shall move the world. Koinos is the longest lever we could imagine, built to move the world in a more open, transparent, and decentralized direction. While we have been inspired by Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Anonymous, we are not Satoshi Nakamoto, and we are not anonymous. We are Koinos Group. Michael, Steve, and Nathan deserve immense credit for this incredible feat. For three people to build a general purpose blockchain framework and mainnet totally from scratch that's better than anything else out there is nothing short of magic. They, of course, had help from people like Theoretical, Roman, Julian, Engrave, Luke, Kwai, too many people to list. Everyone building on Koinos is helping make it into the blockchain that will ultimately scale to the masses. We also couldn't have done this without the support of our amazing community, friends, family, and spouses. We thank everyone for their support. And now, without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Michael.
We're going to spin up a Genesis node, which is just it's a brand new node. I'm going to bootstrap it by uploading all of our system contracts. And then Koinos is going to be live. It really is not a long process. So I'm going to start by starting the node. So I already have the API and the seed nodes up. So if anybody was trying to use them earlier today and things started to break, that's my fault. But we're moving on to mainnet, so I'm not going to apologize. And then we'll follow along with the logs of the node while it gets started. So right now there's a decent amount of spam just as everything gets connected up, but it will calm down here in a second. Perfect. Okay, so everything's starting to calm down now. Yep, so our P2P is actually logged that we're connected to the seed node and to the API node. And right now the block producer is yelling at us because there is no proof of burn contract. So to get around that, I'm going to produce blocks federated on the chain with the Genesis key as a bootstrapping process. And so there's our Genesis block. So our first block is live, our second block is live. And to get Koinos where it needs to be, so that everyone else here can use it, I need to do a little bit of a bootstrap process. So using the CLI, I am going to run a number of scripts that I wrote. This first one here is going to upload all of our system contracts. And so we can see here on the block producer, we uploaded 3 and then 5. So everything is uploaded. Right now, these are just normal user contracts, but in order for them to do all the cool things we need them to do, they need to be system contracts. And so this is the coin contract, the Mana contract, or I guess Mana's in coin. There's the resource contract, governance, proof of burn, claim contract, the governance. So these are now all, and the name service, now all have system level permissions, but we haven't overridden anything. And we'll get to that in just a minute. The next thing we're going to do, and this is different than what was on the testnet, is I now, looks like I'm lagging behind a little bit on the stream, but I ran the name service. So we overrode 2 system calls to handle a new name service. And then I registered all the system contract names with that name service. And using this service, both system contracts and user contracts can reference the system contracts by name, such as coin, instead of via the contract address. And this grants us a lot more flexibility in the future. If the parts of the system need to be updated, the contracts using the system don't also have to be updated. And so that's one thing that was different from testnet, but we're really glad to have it on the mainnet. The other thing that's different from testnet is on the testnet, we kept around a master key, if you will, that allowed us to mint coin whenever, or T-coin whenever we felt like it, which obviously on a testnet is very important. But on the mainnet, the only coin should be coming from the snapshot. And so in order to get coin, we actually have to claim it from the snapshot. And so we're going to do a few claims into 2 different addresses. One is our claim delegation contract, which is a contract that will allow all of you to be able to claim without having any mana. We have this contract set up so that we're paying your mana for the claim. And then the second is the first proof of burn producer address that we control that will produce the first proof of burn blocks. So I'll do one set of claims. I just want to make sure it goes through. It did. And then I've got one more set of claims. And so now there's about, I think it's about 980,000 coin that was just claimed. It's all the coin that's in existence right now. And so we're going to use some of that coin to begin producing blocks with proof of burn. So now I've registered a production key, and I burned 920,000 coin. Now we just have to wait a little bit. So it looks like this went through on block 44. I have to wait for 20 blocks. And this was a change. We're going to monitor the node here. This was a change that we made on testnet 4 after testnet 4 was released. We realized there was a vulnerability in the proof of burn algorithm, where because your signing key, your production key, and the amount of VHP you have is what determines if you can produce or not, it was possible you could have multiple producers configured at once and or multiple production keys, and then start, and then you could start essentially checking all of those different keys to see if they could produce on the next block. And then you would give yourself an advantage, and if essentially the proof of burn algorithm could devolve into proof of work, which we don't want that to happen. That would be very bad. And so to fix that, there is now a 20 block delay that when you transfer VHP, it takes 20 blocks for that VHP to apply towards your the VHP you have available for production, which we refer to as effective VHP. And it takes 20 blocks for any production key changes to apply as well. And so with that amount of delay, that fixes that vulnerability, and proof of burn does not devolve into proof of work. And actually right here now we see, it's a little bit hard to see these messages, but we see this message here, estimated total VHP producing is 4.8 million. And it says we're producing with 920,000 VHP. Because that popped up, that means we're now seeing our effective VHP. It's valid. And so we can go ahead and switch to proof of burn. If I had switched to proof of burn too soon, I actually would have bricked the chain, because we would have been on proof of burn with no valid block producers. And so by waiting this long, it ensures a smooth transition. And so this last little script here is the magic. It is going to enable proof of burn. It's going to enable governance. It's going to enable mana, the resource system. It's all going to happen at once. So let's go ahead and run that. And what we should see on this block producer here is an error on the next block. Sure enough, there's an error. So federated block production is done. And boom, almost immediately produced block height 78 is our first proof of burn block on the Koinos mainnet. Koinos mainnet is now live. I'm already seeing more connected peers, so a few of you were off on your terminals getting your nodes set up while I was launching. So Koinos is now live. Our claiming tool is also live. So you can go ahead and begin claiming coin, burning it, participating in block production. I know the burn pool. Luke and Kwai we're going to try to get stuff up today. But this is it. So thank you so much for being at the stream. I think Andrew, are we going to take some questions for a little bit?
I think so. I think that's the plan.
So
great job again, though.
Before we go to questions, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our community. We have such an amazing community. I just want to shout out a few people, and this is nowhere close to everybody. Roman, Julian, Engrave, Luke, Kwai, Ederlang, Van Luton, Sidentity, and there's so many others. You guys, I'm not joking when I say you guys are the reason we're launching today. You guys have all provided valuable feedback and actually helped with, I think, a lot more code development than you guys realize. Someone called me out or called us out in Telegram the other day about our November 5th reference on the September 1st announcement of the snapshot date and asking, do we know? Like, yes, 100%. The plan was to launch today. And without the help of our community, we would not have launched today. That's not an overstatement. You guys played a pivotal role. And I think that's fitting for a project like Koinos. This launch today, it would be easy for me to sit here as an architect of Koinos and just be like, oh, look, this great thing we built. And I'm extremely proud of Koinos. But it would not be here today without everybody else. And so Koinos is as much yours as it is ours. And we're super excited for all the cool things that you guys are going to be building on it. And we're all excited about the journey that is to come. Today is not the destination. It's just one stop on the journey we're all on. And so I couldn't be happier to be building Koinos with everyone here.
All right. I second that. I would like to say something too, if you guys don't mind. I just want to say to the team, Koinos Group, Michael and Nathan, we've been in the trenches for 3 years, and it's been such an amazing journey. You guys are so talented. I wouldn't have wanted to work with anyone else. This was an amazing experience for me, and what we've accomplished, I'm so proud of. And I want to say to Andrew and Ron, you guys, I love working with you as well, and I wouldn't have picked anyone else to be the face of Koinos Group. You guys do an amazing job every day, and I just wanted to recognize that publicly right now. So I love you guys. What a great team. And
I love you guys too.
everyone. This is a big
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. That was so nice.
You trade it for the world.
I'm going to collapse now. Love you guys.
All right, now, yeah. Do you want to take questions on, I guess, on YouTube? Do you have YouTube pulled up, Andrew?
No, but I can. Does someone else?
I have it here. But there's no questions yet.
Are we going to bring Luke and
When
Cody in
can
here?
we buy, please? We don't know yet. Yeah, I don't know. Did they leave? No.
We are here.
Oh,
You guys have any questions?
yeah.
Yeah.
Luke's being quiet because he's off there claiming his coin and getting his block producer.
I'm
up.
trying to get the producer up, man.
I
know.
I'm seeing a couple transactions move
Yes.
around, so I think people are already claiming.
Yeah, my question
Says
is
Ken-
when moon?
When Mars is a good question.
Yeah, before Mars, moon.
Let me get my video up too. We're doing a party.
Yeah, so I can look at some of these questions. Someone's asking about Explorer. Someone's being funny and saying, when mainnet, will there be a process rolled out to be able to claim from Koinos wallet? I think you can claim from Koinos wallet now. Nice hat, Quine. Right?
You mean the CLI wallet? Yes.
No,
so if you go through the claim.koinos.io, if you don't want to claim with Condor, there's an option right at the end that'll say claim with CLI, and it'll pop up CLI commands that you can run to claim with the CLI wallet instead of Condor.
Yep.
That's how all of the coin that we just claimed was claimed using that tool and then copying the commands for later.
There's another question. Will CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, et cetera, be updated with the token contract and pricing, et cetera? They will be once we get on a centralized exchange. And there's more questions about CXs or DEXs. Obviously, DEX, we have CoinDX, which is a DEX, which is going live soon, and CEXs will come in the near future. Let's see any other questions. All right. When centralized exchanges, I just answer that in the near future. All right. Is Koinos Group happy with the Condor wallet considering you didn't build it? That's a good question.
Well,
Who
in
wants to
short,
take that?
yeah, absolutely.
It's a great wallet. We didn't have to build it.
Yeah. We're excited about everything that we haven't built. Like the guys said, without this stuff, we wouldn't have been able to launch mainnet when we were. I think actually one of the reasons why Koinos is so good is because all along we've taken a very strong stance that if we have to build basically applications on top of Koinos, then Koinos isn't good enough. That the blockchain component, that the tooling isn't good enough. And so I think our position was always that we don't want to compete with dApp developers. We want to empower dApp developers. So we love it when people build things so that we don't have to. And that we didn't build the token claiming site. We didn't build Condor. We didn't build the assembly script SDK. And a lot of the system contracts are written in TypeScript or assembly script, however you want to think about it. And we love that we didn't have to write those things. And I think when you look at the size of the team, and I'd be curious if you guys agree or disagree, because I think it's pretty obvious that we've been able to do a lot more with a lot fewer resources than most projects out there. That the way that we were able to do this, in addition to you guys being insanely talented, is with an extreme focus on building, yes, the simplest system that we can, but also just really focusing on that, and then leaving as much as possible to developers and kind of having faith that developers would see what we were doing, appreciate what we were doing, and contribute.
Absolutely.
And also, I want to say that Julian's I've been working with Julian, and he's amazing, and he's doing so much for us, and I want to thank him personally. Thanks, Julian, if you're listening. Someone had the question of what's our plan for the next few weeks? What will we be doing?
I think working a little bit less, but primarily monitoring the blockchain, making sure everything is working well, and probably discussing we have a giant list of things we would like to build, and so we got to figure out what's the next thing we're doing. There's too many good ideas right now. We have to narrow it down.
But these guys deserve as much rest as they can possibly get.
What's the best way to see how many devs are building and using Koinos? Where do you expect to see the TPS over the next few weeks? Is that a valid question?
I don't know if there's a site that lists all the projects yet. That would be a really good dApp for somebody to build. As far as the TPS, it's 451 transactions max transfers in a 3-second block. That's what it is. Koinos is highly upgradable. It's going to get better over time. TPS is a bullshit metric. Is that enough of an answer to that, guys?
I don't expect the actual TPS of the network to be very high in the beginning. Just as people are getting going, it's going to be primarily going to be getting nodes up and running and claiming, building the stability of the network up. So like observed, probably single digits, but Koinos is capable of a lot more than that. And so I think it'll be exciting to see blocks get bigger and bigger as more and more people begin to use Koinos.
And as for seeing what people are working on, there's no, central list, of course, but hanging out in the Discord is really good place to monitor what people are doing.
I think Von Luton is keeping a list. I've seen it thrown around. I don't have
Planet Koinos. Yeah, maybe on planetkoinos.com, where you can also get merch. Go get some merch. Throw that guy some dinero. Also,
someone asked me, what do I think about November? November is my birth month. So it's the best month of the year, in my opinion.
Someone asked, will a node need to be running 24/7?
If you don't want to miss anything, yes.
Someone asked earlier, what's next for Koinos Group?
Yeah.
And Michael alluded to, there's so many things that we want to do, but why don't we just talk about some of the things that we're excited to, there's multiple fronts that we have. So I think we should talk a little bit about that. Developers obviously are our focus, and we want to build tooling to make development of dApps easier and easier for them. That's the main focus of Koinos Group, but I think I speak for everyone. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're very interested in pushing forward hardware wallet support like Ledger. I think everyone's interested in that. I think it's very important, and I think we should spend a little time pushing that forward. Advocacy, right? Obviously, getting the chain out there in front of people, attracting developers, all of that. So I think that's there's a lot on our plate, and we have a lot of fronts that we need to push forward. But that gives you a little bit of an idea of where we're at, right?
Yeah, I think the two things to highlight the things you mentioned, giving developers tools that'll make it faster or easier, cheaper to scale their decentralized applications, build and scale their decentralized applications. Core of what we're looking to do moving forward, and then communicating to the developers, getting the word out to those developers that these amazing tools are there for them. And then developing a business model for the company, because up until now, we've been hyper-focused on launching this mainnet. I think I could speak for all of us that we're actually looking forward to getting to focus on our company, because the stronger position Koinos Group is in, and the more value that we're adding to the ecosystem as a business, the more we're increasing the value of Koinos and improving the Koinos ecosystem.
You see that question from Roland? Is that the fine gentleman I met at Steamfest in the very fancy attire in Thailand? He's asking about the tokenomics, the approximate inflation.
Is that him?
Roland, if it's Roland, yes,
it looks like him. So the current tokenomics, so the total supply of coin will inflate by 2% per year. All of that inflation is going to the block producers, and so what the actual return there is dependent upon how much of the coin supply is participating in block production. We've chosen to return 50% of the total supply. So essentially, when you burn coin, you get VHP, virtual hash power, which is what powers proof of burn mining. When you produce a block, a little bit of your VHP is converted back into coin, and that's the only way that VHP turns back into coin, is by actually producing blocks. And then you get a little bit of extra coin, which is from the inflation. And so we've tuned the amount of VHP coming back such that half of the total supply, or what we're calling virtual supply, is going to be turned from VHP back into coin per year. And so if more than 50% of the supply is burned as VHP, not all of it's going to get turned back to coin in 1 year. If less, then more will. And that essentially will change the actual rate of return that a block producer can receive. How that's going to act right now with the claiming is the supply is the actual claimed coin supply. And so we recognize that if we use the unclaimed, the total supply, like the claimed coin plus the unclaimed, that could grant a disproportionate advantage to those who claim immediately. And so we're only using the claimed coin supply for the purposes of inflation, which means if not everybody claims within the first year, we'll actually see a lower than 2% inflation rate. And it'll increase as more and more people claim coin. Likewise, the mana costs for performing transactions on the blockchain have the total supply as an input, so that as more coin exists, the prices increase, such that essentially the percentage of, if you were to own a particular percentage of the supply, that would grant you access to a certain percentage of the resources, and that remains constant as the supply increases and decreases. Obviously, your percentage changes as the supply increases and decreases, and so how many resources you can use will also be changing. But we have some very solid fundamental invariants that are being applied in the tokenomics to keep everything working well. Maybe it's a little bit more deep dive than what you were asking, but it's on YouTube now. People can go back and rewatch it. All of this is also explained in the white paper, and we'd be happy to explain more in Discord if there's follow-up questions.
Frederick is asking about burning NFT holding VHP tradable. VHP NFTs, part of the proof of burn process, was an earlier design that we scrapped. And now when you burn coin for proof of burn and receive VHP in return, that's a fungible token. So it is not an NFT, and it is completely tradable. You can buy and sell VHP on a DEX like CoinDX.
So VHP gives you the right to produce blocks and earn block rewards. Coin gives you the right to consume network resources. And so that division creates a really elegant incentive mechanism to help regulate network resource usage and incentivize people to run nodes efficiently. There were a couple of things I wanted to kind of ping off of. The fact that one of the interesting things about the token economics that I think it might be worth talking a little bit more is that effect we have where despite having a fixed rate of inflation, 2%, depending on how many people are participating and the degree of participation, the return can actually be variable. And for example, in the case of somebody trying to attack the network, what would happen and what can happen and what are the tools available? Would one of you like to speak on that?
Steve, you want to take this one?
No, honestly, I was reading messages, so I did not hear that.
Okay. Yeah. So, and essentially, like I said, so the only way that VHP gets converted back to coin is via block production. And so, I mean, it's not a secret that a big inspiration for us to build proof of burn was all of the drama that occurred on Steam after Tron purchased Steemit, and using specifically the use of user-owned funds held in exchanges for the purposes of voting in delegated proof of stake, because those users did not agree to their funds being used in that way. Our stance is that was an unethical, immoral move, and we would really like to have. We want proof of burn is designed to have essentially a financial incentive to not do that, and so if such an event were to occur on Koinos, the community could decide to not build on top of blocks produced by a specific producer. And in essence, by doing so, their coin is burned, and there is now no way for them to get that VHP back into coin. And so the community can, via those mechanisms, soft lock a perceived malicious actor. And our belief is that the knowledge that such things could occur is enough of a financial deterrent for an exchange to not want to participate in proof of burn.
And that's assuming they'd be willing to burn their users' funds first.
Correct. And the thing is, even if they burn their users' funds, they may not get it back in a timely manner, which means they are going to have to either purchase more coin themselves, which drives up the price. So, that's not a bad thing, so that they can support user withdrawals. Because I was just saying, if I had my tokens on an exchange and they did that with my tokens, I would not be using that exchange anymore. And so I would want to withdraw my funds to a different exchange or hold them myself. And if they've burned all their coin and now they're having to reacquire coin, that is going to be a very expensive and costly endeavor for the exchange. Even if they are still allowed to produce blocks, they're not going to get their coin back instantly. And so I could also see a scenario where other members are like, I know it's less profitable to burn, but I am also going to burn my coin just to make it take longer for them to get their coin back. And so it's business suicide because you're stealing from your customers and not letting them get their funds back. It's probably, and if an exchange were in that situation, they would likely run into significant regulatory problems because they are custodians, not owners. And so hopefully all of those things built, together is enough of an incentive for exchanges to not participate in block production via their users' tokens.
Yeah, and this is all separate and apart from the efficiency benefits, the benefits of the synergy with the mana system and being forced to make this choice between burning tokens versus using them for the mana. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight is because sometimes this is a question that I get. When you burn your coin, have you actually destroy the coin? The token supply actually goes down. It's not just locked.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we're all very happy with how the proof of burn system turned out. It's simple and elegant, but checks all the boxes that we're looking for in a consensus algorithm.
And kudos to Steve for really pushing for that consensus.
Yeah, I think Steve found the Bitcoin improvement proposal that described proof of burn. I would say we use that more of as an inspiration for our proof of burn rather than a spec. But that find early on was killer, and we all very quickly fell in love with the consensus algorithm.
Roland has another good one. Roland's on a roll. He's talking about the name service contract. We absolutely expect a similar contract to exist in the user space. This particular name service is solely for system contracts, and the upgrade process to add records are through having system authority. But we absolutely expect a similar smart contract with different semantics to exist for user space that will ultimately end up in named wallets, named contracts that are user created.
Yeah, I think we're all really excited about the name service, the value that it will add within the system, and then the composability consequences of having that contract as in there for developers to work off of. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more about the function that the name service serves within the system architecture?
Sure. Yeah, I kind of alluded to it a little bit while we were launching. We knew we were going to build the system name service eventually, but we were thinking it would be post mainnet. The problem our community brought to our attention, specifically some of our smart contract developers, that they were hard coding in the coin contract address, and they're like, well, what happens if we need to update that? How do we handle it? And we're like, oh yeah, that's going to be a big problem, especially if someone wants a contract uploaded that is not intended to be updated. And so it solves the problem of with the governance contract. Essentially, you propose changes that is essentially just operations that would go in a transaction. If the proposal passes, then 4 weeks later, they are packaged into a transaction, and Essentially, it's processed prior to all the other transactions in the block. And that transaction has to contain all the data it needs. If the proposal is uploading a transaction, that's a very expensive proposal. Sorry, if it has to upload a contract, it's a very expensive proposal. So we could upload the contract in the same spot, but now this proposal object is very big, and the problem we were running into was even just handling that big of a proposal was introducing a significant inefficiency into the governance contract. And so by limiting how big those transactions can be for proposals to something smaller, the governance contract got much, much more efficient, which is important because the governance contract executes every single block looking for pending proposals. So the name service essentially allows us to have a more streamlined update process. So for example, if we found a bug in the coin contract, or maybe more likely wanted to add features to the coin contract, maybe tweak some details about the mana system in the future, we would upload another coin contract that would be a user contract with the intention of it becoming the system contract. And then in a governance proposal, we would promote it to a system contract, override the mana system calls to point to the new coin contract. We would demote the old coin contract, and then we would also update the name service record for the coin contract. And that would all happen as a single transaction atomically within the blockchain. And that means any contract that was using the old contract via the name service would just automatically begin using the new contract, because they would say, hey, what's the contract at coin? And like, well, here's the address. And then the next block, it will be a different address. But the contract wouldn't know any different. Everything would continue to work. We were planning on adding this, and we knew that we were going to have to jump through hoops to like upload new versions of all the system contracts, and like it would be a massive upgrade, but we knew we could do it. But we did not think through all the implications for the user contracts. And so it was brought to our attention. I believe Luke was one of the developers, along with a few others, that were like, hey, this might be a problem. And we looked at it like, absolutely, we didn't think about that. And so we bumped up the priority of the name service to be done prior to the mainnet. And so that's what serves. I saw another question in there, says who can upgrade the addresses? It has to be the Koinos system. So essentially the only way those addresses in the name service can be updated is via a governance proposal. And so I can't imagine a case that it would not accompany some other changes to either system calls or system contracts alongside it.
Right. So somebody would be submitting an upgrade specifying this change within the upgrade. Governance, meaning the block producers, would cast their votes for this change. And then only once a sufficient vote threshold was met would the governance process proceed. And part of that process would involve changing the address associated with the name. Is that correct? Yeah. One of the, to kind of summarize some of that, I think what's really cool about this is that this helps make Koinos even more upgradable. It's a significant change to the system. It could have been done as an in-band upgrade. Had we needed to, we wanted to expedite it. But it's still, even though we did it now with the launch, it was still just the addition of a smart contract. The design of Koinos allows us to add this behavior without compromising any of the security, because this is just a new smart contract running on now the mainnet. Wow.
And I also want to highlight.
Did we launch a mainnet, guys?
Yeah, I wanted to highlight. It's really cool. So the system calls that the name service uses, there's two, which is get contract name, And so you pass it in an address, and it returns you the name associated with that address, if there is one, and get contract address, which you give it a name, you get back an address. Those are contract-only system calls. So far, all the other system calls had a native C++ implementation within the chain microservice that we overwrote. These ones, there are no, like the name service is not a part of the Koinos blockchain framework. It exists right now purely for the Koinos mainnet, all based on things that were, all things that are uploaded after Genesis. And so this was a feature that we knew existed. We designed it to exist, but we hadn't used it yet. So it's very exciting for me to see that actually get used and be useful this early on in the life of Koinos.
And you guys whipped this up pretty quick. I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but could you make any kind of wild guess as to how long it would have taken you to develop this kind of change on, say, Steam?
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
such a different thing. Yeah, the need of a name service like this on Steam almost doesn't even make sense because everything's native.
Well, speaking of name services, I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but I think there's a community member who's already working on a user name service.
Yeah, we've started some work on it. Kui and I have been focused on Burncoin, which right now we're trying to get it up and running on mainnet. It's gonna be a little while before we have it for everybody to use. So there will be broadcasts on Discord and Telegram and all that when it is available. But yeah, in the meantime, if you're looking to produce blocks, do it on your own machine. We'll have the pool up as soon as we can. But yeah, our next project that we've started designing and working on is basically a name service similar to ENS, so like your .eth names on Ethereum, but on Koinos. So we have a couple different things that we really want to incorporate, where we're calling it the Koinos Address Protocol, KAP or CAP, and the design is basically to be, a direct port of the ENS contracts over to WASM, but including, as kind of our wish list, the if you're familiar with eth.limo, kind of the resolver service under the same DAO. So opportunities there. If we can figure it all out, we'll have more baked under the same roof than just the ENS DAO. And then additionally, where ENS is really focused on just .eth domains and has this vision of incorporating in the future with like the public domain space, having normal DNS resolve to blockchain addresses. We're not focusing on that. We're treating top level domains as something that anybody could create with no intention of incorporating that with DNS in the future. So the reason for that is because we want to use cap : / as kind of the context for what you're working in, and then give dApps the ability to own their own top level domains. So if you want to build a game called whatever, World, call it a metaverse and call it World, then you could get World, the NFT, and anybody could type cap World into their browser and have it resolve to your site, basically, in a decentralized way. And then you could use that top level domain to issue player names within your context and have, Luke.world and give everybody like their own profile or character, whatever you want it to be. The opportunity is pretty straightforward. I think it's a fairly simple design. just to open it up so that anybody can get their own top level domain and use it to fuel their dApps, whatever it is. So social games, lots of opportunity
Yeah.
there.
It's actually pretty wild because if you think about the fact that you can create accounts for people and then you seed it with Mana so that they can use it, they're basically able to get a human readable name, much like Steam, when you're able just to first log in and be able to use whatever dApp that they're opening an account for you without ever buying tokens. It's everything that's already available on Koinos, but it just makes it easier for the user to get involved, which I think is one of the biggest and most powerful things about Koinos as a blockchain. And at the lowest level, we're going to see a lot of options where we get to redo everything that people want to do on Ethereum. We get to redo everything on all these blockchains that were just not possible because you couldn't give people the right way to access and manage their accounts. So with CAP, that's going to be a huge step forward, helping everyone be able to, everyone as in regular everyday users get involved with blockchain. So pretty excited about getting there.
Yeah. So obviously, having simple name resolution is big. That's a very useful feature. Steam had it out of the box for much to the chagrin of Michael and everybody here, just because it created limitations on resources and you couldn't have free accounts or truly free accounts. So having normal Bitcoin style addresses on Koinos is really important, but that doesn't mean that a name, like a user name service, isn't valuable. So yeah, we're coming in and adding that ability, and eventually people will be able to claim their own names. And our intention right now is to have a few different namespaces where anybody can get like a .coin address and have that be kind of like the standard top level domain for anybody and have it cost, a nominal fee. But we also want to add like a .free or something like that where anybody can get any name for free and have it, no payment at any time. So that way we're able to get addresses with a username in the hands of people who don't even hold any coin tokens. And then the top level domains, which I talked about, which will be targeted more at dApps, but users who really want to pay for that premium could do so.
Yeah, imagine you had some application out there and they buy a top level domain. They could basically create accounts specifically for individuals that are separate from your own account. And, people who use blockchain now, if they have one address, it tends to be associated with all of their activity on blockchain. But I don't think people really want to see all of their activity in one account and be associated with all those types of transactions. So you do want to separate them out for privacy reasons. So it would be great if an application buys a top level domain, creates a specific user account for a person, and that can be associated with a resolver. And that way they can keep their transactions for a particular dApp with that one account and not associated with their single account. And next thing you know it, you have all your history in one location, and it's just not fun for anybody.
That's right.
So many possibilities. So many possibilities. That's wild.
I don't know who's going to join in, but I've got some New York State bourbon here. So in the guise of being American, I'm just going to have a drink for y'all right now.
Yeah, I'm the one uploading the Burncoin contract. So.
I didn't grab my whiskey to celebrate. I'm gonna have it later. So
Yeah, same.
Well, cheers to you guys. Thank you for all the hard work you've done for these last 2 years.
Absolutely.
It's great knowing you guys. And honestly, one of the biggest things about this team is just how open you guys are throughout the entire process. A lot of people here in the community see it, and they're super aware of it. So really, really thank you guys. And I hope everyone realizes how important it is to be open and honest when it comes to developing on blockchain. You don't really get to see that a lot these days. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Tea.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm drinking tea too.
My coffee's empty, unfortunately. So. Time for a refill. So this is great. Thank you for having me and Kui on today. Obviously, this is your show. So great work, everybody. Really excited to have mainnet up. I have successfully claimed my tokens, at least some of them. So
Same here.
glad to have that working. And yeah, I did end up doing the claim through the command line. So if anybody's having issues with the claim app or can't figure out the process, or even if you're waiting, because there's no time limit on how long or how you don't have to do it today. Hit us up on Discord, hit us up on Telegram. We'll sort you out.
And
I
the
actually
team-
use. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was to say the team we will be watching Discord like hawks for the next several days. Just even if we're not like hands on keyboard working, coding up all the time, we're going to be watching Discord, and we'll if things pop up, things that need to get fixed, we're on it. So we'll be happy to help anybody that needs it.
I personally claim through Julian's Condor wallet and MetaMask. I've got several wallets, obviously, but I claim through the site using MetaMask. These are accounts that are not on a hardware wallet. So I know some people feel weird about that, but those work through just fine. If it's a little buggy, just give us some time. But it all worked out pretty good. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it there.
Say the addresses that were claimed at the launch, those were backed by hardware wallets. So I can personally vouch that the Ledger support with the claiming process is extremely nice.
So we got Ledger, we got straight software from MetaMask, and we get CLI through.
Yeah, any specifically any hardware wallet that can connect to MetaMask is supported.
Sweet.
So.
All right.
All right.
Were there other questions we missed, or are we good to go?
I think
any other questions that we need, we'll answer stuff in Discord or Telegram.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Thank you guys for helping out with this. Thanks, everybody. Amazing work.